Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you a day after Arsenal's defeat against Leicester City. Not the nicest way to start a Monday morning, going over a defeat, but that's what I'm going to do. I obviously posted a video from the match last night with my player ratings and match review, but I'll talk about it a little bit more in depth this morning, just going over that, and then just go over a couple of things that I kind of feel like have come from that defeat. But first of all, just to say I am actually off this week, so last night was my last game for a while. I'll be back after the Manchester United match next Sunday, so you probably won't see as many videos as you normally see from me this week, as I am, it's half term, so I'm on parenting duties with my two little kids. So you might well hear at some point during this video tearing the house up downstairs. So yeah, not too many videos from me. You won't see my usual coverage on Twitter and across my social media channels for next week or so, and that's why I'm on parenting duties. So apologies for going a little bit quiet over the next week or so, but I will be back after the game against Manchester United. So I'll be trying to do my best to keep you all things updated with all things Arsenal from then. Hopefully there'll be a couple of wins between now and then as well, obviously against Dundalk on Thursday night and then against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Hopefully Arsenal will end that Old Trafford hoodoo. Right, let's quickly talk about last night, unfortunately, shall we? I won't go over the defeat because we've already done that in my video from the game itself, but just to talk over a few of the issues that I think have come from it. We'll start with Alexandre Lacazette. He's obviously getting absolutely panned on social media at the moment, coming in for some real criticism for his performance, for that miss in the first half, but not just the miss, just the actual level of his performance. And there is certainly a problem when it comes to Lacazette at the moment, and it's becoming more and more apparent as the sort of weeks or days go by, that he's just not the sort of striker that he was a couple of years ago when he had that. Obviously, you've got player of the season in 2018, 2019 was really good that season, linked up really well with Aubameyang, but just doesn't seem to be at that level anymore. He obviously struggled last season with injuries and then form. He has started this season all right in terms of goal scoring form. He scored 3 in his first 3 games, but hasn't scored in 4 now. And his performance, there is an issue there. It's clearly an issue there. We saw it again last night, not just with the miss, but his all-round gameplay, the hold-up play, which kind of is what he's in the side for. That's not really there at the moment at all. The ball is bouncing off him. He looks sluggish. He looks like he's lost quite a bit of the pace. He wasn't the quickest to start with, but he seems even more sluggish and ponderous now. He's given away a lot of fouls as well because he seems to just be half a yard late all the time. And it's becoming a real issue, and it's certainly becoming an issue when you've got Aubameyang playing out of position out wide to kind of to accommodate Lacazette as a central striker. And you kind of seeing as the weeks go past, there's going to be increasing pressure on Mikhail Arteta to make a firm decision on his strikers, because he's tried Nketiah, not scored too many goals in Nketiah when he has played. Obviously, he's trying Lacazette as well. We're seeing it almost rotate by the week or by the fortnight. And if neither of them are really stepping up and scoring the goals, it will get harder and harder for Mikel Arteta to justify playing Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang out of position. Aubameyang didn't score again last night. He only had 2 shots. He's only had 8 shots in the league all season in the first 6 games. Only scored the 1 goal in the first game of the season. So he's gone 5 games without a goal now. And that's his longest run since 2014 when he was at Borussia Dortmund. He looked really frustrated at the end of the game last night. Aubameyang went straight off down the tunnel when the full-time whistle went. And I'm not surprised, because when you're in the type of form that Auba was, not so long ago, you just signed a new contract, you obviously want to really kick on. If you're not getting chances to score goals, then it's going to become very, very frustrating for a striker very, very quickly. And I think we saw that with Aubameyang last night. I mean, can't be absolved of any blame, because I didn't think he had a good game last night. He did have one good opportunity in the first half that he headed over as well. Maybe a sharper Aubameyang, more confident Aubameyang would have stuck that away. But it is becoming an issue, I think. If you're going to continue to play Lacazette and he's going to continue to struggle, miss chances like he did last night, and not hold the ball up, which is kind of what, as I said, he's in the side to do, to bring others into play, then you can only do that for so long, surely. So I think Mikel Arteta is going to have to make a decision on Lacazette fairly soon. He was asked about him yesterday, asked about his confidence issues, and look, Arteta, as you would expect, he backed his striker, but it's a growing concern what's going on with Alexandre Lacazette and the form he's showing, not just in terms of goal scoring, but in terms of performance. And that is a worry, and it's something that Mikel Arteta is going to have to solve, because you can't keep playing Aubameyang out of position if the striker isn't scoring, surely. So that's something he's going to have to really work on over the next few weeks or so, whether it's, extra training for Lacazette, whether it's just somehow putting your arm around him and trying to just get some sort of belief back into his play, because that certainly seems to be what is lacking at the moment. David Luiz injury issue yesterday, just a little update on that. It was a muscular problem with David Luiz, kind of looked like it was a thigh, some sort of issue like that. He'll obviously have a scan now to see the extent of that problem. Mikhail Arteta said it should become clear in the next 48 hours or so in terms of how long he will be out for. And it is quite a big issue that for Arsenal. We saw how important David Luiz was to them yesterday. I mean, that says a lot about their creativity issues in the side when you're relying on David Luiz to be a playmaker. But he was in that first half, and he was causing Leicester real problems with the quality of his passing. The overlapping fullbacks were getting in. He was switching play over the Leicester fullbacks, and Hector Bellerin and Kieran Tierney were really benefiting from that. So Arsenal will be hoping that David Luiz will not be out for too long, but we will find out hopefully in the next 48 hours or so whether the extent of the injury yesterday. But it didn't look good the way he went down. He knew there was an issue. There was an issue before half time. He went in. You could see Mustafi was out for the whole of the half time warm up, getting ready just in case he had to come on. Luiz said something to Mustafi when he came out the tunnel. It kind of looked like I'm going to give it a go, see how it goes, but only lasted a couple of minutes. So it's clearly an issue that Luiz was well aware of that he had. Just want to talk about Mikhail Arteta a little bit now. He's got the lack of goal threat is now, it is a real issue that he needs to try and solve. It's a big problem for Mikel Arteta. The fact, as I said, that David Luiz at the moment is Arsenal's main creative hub kind of says it all. They're not creating the chances. I mean, the first half was positive last night. I thought Arsenal did have 11 shots on goal, which compared to other games this season is a huge amount. I mean, they had 6 attempts on goal in the whole of the 90 minutes against Sheffield United before the international break. So that kind of showed there was a level of improvement, and David Luiz was certainly key to that, as I've mentioned before. But as soon as Luiz went off, the chances dried up. Arsenal had 1 shot on goal in the second half. That was after David Luiz had gone off, but they did even start to slow that down as the first half wore on, possibly as Leicester got to grips with the way Arsenal were playing, the sort of formation, the newish sort of setup, and how David Luiz was at the heart of that. And if you are relying on David Luiz to be your creator, then there's clearly an issue in the central areas. I mean, the midfield was the first time we saw Ceballos, Xhaka and Thomas Partey last night. I thought Dani Ceballos struggled. He had a poor game, and I think that certainly impacted Arsenal going forward, because out of the 3, you'd expect Ceballos to be the more creative and possibly the midfielder playing higher up the pitch. But he really struggled. I'm not sure Thomas Partey was involved as much as he would have liked to be, and I think Granit Xhaka had almost double the amount of passes that Thomas Partey did during the game. So Arsenal, the game kind of bypassed Partey a little bit, and you'd want him to be really heavily involved in everything. Especially going forward as well, because he's so good at breaking the lines, Thomas Partey. But Dani Ceballos' issue, Dani Ceballos' struggles last night, I thought had a direct impact on Arsenal's performance certainly in the second half, because he just wasn't on it. Ceballos, from the very first few minutes, he looked a little bit frustrated. Passes were going astray. He wasn't the usual Ceballos we see, and I think that had an impact on the game. But Arsenal certainly, or Arteta has certainly got to find a way of making Arsenal more of a threat against teams that sit deep. Leicester did it. They did it perfectly last night, and every team who's going to come to the Emirates this season is going to play that way, because they know that they can kind of, if they sit deep and pack the areas around the 18-yard box and don't give Arsenal the attack to break and play the balls over into the sort of diagonals over to the overlapping fullbacks, then Arsenal are going to struggle to create, because they don't have that creative playmaker. They obviously don't have Mesut Ozil, and when Ozil's not there, and obviously Willian wasn't there yesterday as well, there's no real threat from the central areas creativity-wise, and Arsenal going to struggle to score goals as a result. So Mikel Arteta, that is his big problem. He has to find a way around that. I mean, he obviously knows it, he clearly knows it, but there has to be a way to solve it, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a very long, hard season for Arsenal, because although they're tightening things up defensively, which is what they absolutely had to do, they had to make themselves harder to beat. They have done that despite last night's defeat, which was obviously a very narrow one. It could have gone either way. But they've got to do more going forward, because they've got to become more of a threat. They've got to take advantage of having a player like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in the side, because if you don't give him any chances, then you're going to struggle, and Aubameyang is going to become more and more frustrated as a result. So it's a really big problem for Mikel Arteta that he has to solve now. He's made his decision with Mesut Ozil. The club have made their decision on Mesut Ozil. if you're going to do something like that and make a call as big as that, then you have to have ways of creating chances and making yourself a threat. And that is the big problem that it's very, very apparent, even in its early stages of the season, that Mikel Arteta is going to have to solve. I mean, the squad, when you look at the nature of the squad, it's unbalanced, I think. And Arsenal, and it kind of paying a price for transfer errors that they've made in the last few windows. Predating way before Mikel Arteta, even before Edu arrived. And the squad is unbalanced because of those transfer errors. You kind of could take it back to even Lacazette and Aubameyang together. You bought Lacazette for a club record fee. 6 months later, you buy Aubameyang, and then you got the sort of thing of how do you gel those two together? Can they play together? If not, who can play where? And they've kind of had that issue ever since Lacazette and Aubameyang have been in the squad together. And then you throw Pepe into the mix, who obviously hasn't worked out yet. He's had some good flashes of quality during his time at Arsenal, but it has to be said, £72 million. I mean, it hasn't worked out yet for Nicolas Pepe. He's in and out of the team. And it's just the squad looks a little bit unbalanced. The recruitment recently has been solid, and the addition of Gabriel and Thomas Partey has certainly made Arsenal's spine so much better. But it's just that next stage now going forward. And I think when you look at the nature of the attacking threat in the squad, you got yesterday you had Nketiah on the bench, you had Reece Nelson, you haven't seen Emil Smith-Rowe. There's not much to come on there to really make a difference. And I think Arsenal's some of the mismanagement of recent windows and squad build. I'm not saying they're bad players that have been signed, because Lacazette's a good player, Aubameyang's obviously a very good player, Pepe's a good player. But you kind of look at the way they've been signed in terms of how they've built the squad in the attacking sense. Doesn't seem like the planning has really been there for it. And I think Arsenal may be paying the price in that now. And it's going to probably take another couple of windows before they can at least can really start to solve those issues. So that's an issue that Arsenal have to solve going forward as well. But there's no short-term fix. There's no quick fix. It's going to have to be done over a few transfer windows. And ideally, I think Arsenal are going to have to try and get some players out, which we've seen before is a real struggle, because they're well paid and most of them don't really want to leave because they're not going to get the wages elsewhere that they get in here. And again, I think that all comes down to the poor management of recruitment and building a squad in the right way. Just a bit of team news as we head in towards the Dundalk game on Thursday night. Obviously, it's quite a way off. We're not sure exactly what Mikel Arteta's plans has been. He will have a press conference this week, which will be on Wednesday. Him and a player previewing that game, and it'll be interesting to see how he approaches it, because he even admitted last night that Arsenal have picked up some real injuries in the last week or so, and perhaps that's no surprise. He went stronger than we all imagined in the first game at Rapid Vienna. There were some players like David Luiz who played the full game. He's obviously paid the price for that now with the injury sustained yesterday, the muscle injury. So that will be in Mikel Arteta's thoughts going into this game on Thursday night. Is that, does he need to give some players a rest? Kieran Tierney struggled yesterday, ended up having to be replaced. Hopefully it was just cramp, but he was limping, he was really struggling. He was in talks with the physio. Bukayo Saka got a nasty whack on the ankle. He's certainly going to be a big injury doubt. Willian wasn't even involved in the squad this last night, so he's obviously going to be a doubt. So there is some real team news there. There's some issues that Mikel Arteta has to solve there. He has to balance out how many players play on Thursday night, how many players get a rest, because we've got a big game against Manchester United on Sunday. Right, that's about it for me. As I said at the start of this, I am off this week. I'll try and do a couple of videos if I can find time in the evening or something like that, just to keep you updated. But I am going to be off. I'm going to be not really going to have my finger on the pulse for the next week or so, as I spend some time with the family during half term. But yeah, stay safe, everyone. Enjoy your week. Hopefully, you're not going to be too depressed after last night's result, and you can look forward to another couple of games coming up. I will be back after Old Trafford next week. Stay safe, everyone. Speak to you soon.